Every year in America, more than 128,000 people are hospitalized from foodborne illness. Tens of thousands more are poisoned slowly by hidden chemicals, and countless seniors face deadly strokes or cancers linked to what they thought was safe food. That's the triple bombshell: disease, toxins, and betrayal already ticking inside our kitchens. And the most terrifying part? The very foods most trusted by working families, retirees, and people on fixed incomes are often the ones laced with the most danger. Corporations hide behind labels, loopholes, and lobbyists while the public eats blind. If Europe bans it, why are American seniors still swallowing it? If lab tests scream warning, why are supermarkets still selling it? And how many more lives will be gambled away in the name of convenience? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Today we expose 7 deadly foods that America must recall and destroy at all costs. Number 1. Tyson nuggets. They snap with a golden crunch. They sparkle in commercials as the taste of family, and they sit in freezers like trophies of convenience. Tyson chicken nuggets are everywhere, from cafeterias to nursing homes, promising comfort at $5 a bag. But peel back that crispy layer and you're not biting into a harmless snack. You're chewing through one of America's ugliest food scandals: child labor, factory filth, and corporate neglect, all disguised as dinner. In 2023, the U.S. Department of Labor exposed over 100 underage workers tied to Tyson-linked plants, some only 13 years old, scrubbing blood-soaked kill floors at midnight. Many were migrants trafficked through shady subcontractors, denied schooling, and thrown into shifts so dangerous even seasoned adults feared them. Tyson denied responsibility until whistleblowers produced photos of children in hard hats, cleaning the very machines that processed your nuggets. Isn't it grotesque that what kids were forced to clean at night ends up as what kids eat the next day? The contamination crisis makes it worse. Freedom of Information requests in 2024 revealed 9 Tyson plants failing inspections for fecal matter, salmonella, and even metal shards. One Arkansas recall pulled back over 400,000 pounds of nuggets riddled with grease, bone splinters, and plastic bits, yet still labeled kid-friendly. That same quarter, 74 people across 6 states reported food poisoning. 3 elderly residents in assisted care nearly died. If this is trusted since 1935, what does betrayal look like? And still, families keep buying. Why? Because Tyson is everywhere. They dominate school lunch programs, hospital kitchens, prisons, and nearly every grocery freezer aisle. For working-class parents on SNAP or seniors stretching Social Security, Tyson is often the only meat under $5. When the fridge is empty and bills are stacked high, nobody asks if the nugget passed through a sewage-stained factory line. They just pray it won't send them to the ER. Tyson now brags about reforms. In 2025, they launched a glossy, zero-tolerance child labor pledge. But by mid-year, not a single executive had faced criminal charges, and only one contractor was suspended. USDA still lists Tyson plants as high risk, yet the boxes keep rolling out. Does a new slogan really erase the fingerprints of a 14-year-old Guatemalan refugee from the conveyor belt? The future? Perhaps robots will replace exploited kids, or maybe traffickers will get smarter at hiding them. Maybe Tyson will push more production offshore, where cameras can't follow. Or maybe, if consumers and whistleblowers hold firm, this cycle of cruelty will finally crack. For those who want out, alternatives exist. Applegate Naturals offers antibiotic-free nuggets with full traceability, while Purdue's Harvestland line has kept a stronger safety record. Or better still, make your own. Pasturebird chicken thighs, panko, a skillet. It costs less over time and doesn't carry the stench of corporate scandal. But the hardest question remains: what does it say about America if we keep feeding our children food made by other people's children, under conditions unfit even for animals? Number 2. Tilapia imports. What if the white fillet on your plate is not the clean protein you imagine, but a slab of flesh fattened in sewage ponds and rinsed with chemicals before being shrink-wrapped for American freezers? Tilapia imports, mostly from China and Vietnam, have been dressed up as a bargain for the poor, but the bargain hides a bill stamped in illness and death. Families buy it because it's cheap, boneless, and promises healthy fish. Yet behind every frozen $2 dinner lies a production system marinated in human waste, antibiotics banned in the US, and fraud so shameless it makes a casino look honest. The Food and Drug Administration's own data showed that nearly 4 in 10 tilapia shipments from Southeast Asia carried traces of fluoroquinolones, antibiotics outlawed in American aquaculture for fueling drug-resistant superbugs. A 2023 investigation by Bloomberg and U.S. PERG revealed the use of malachite green, banned for over 10 years because of cancer risks, still lacing Vietnamese ponds. Even worse, in parts of the Mekong Delta, fish are raised directly in sewage water, a practice technically legal there. Imagine swallowing a fillet whose last meal might have been toilet runoff. Does that still sound like the poor man's protein, or just cruelty in disguise? And the impact isn't theoretical. In 2024, 118 Americans fell sick with Vibrio infections traced to mislabeled imported tilapia. 3 elderly Floridians landed in the hospital with kidney failure, while an immune-compromised Texan died after eating pan-fried tilapia in a senior meal program. Think of that. A fish meant to nourish the vulnerable instead sent them to the morgue. Yet because these imports are repackaged under generic store brands, most victims never know which pond poisoned them. How can a retiree on a fixed income fight back when even the label lies? Still, people keep buying it because when your Social Security check barely stretches to rent, you don't stroll past a bag of tilapia at $3. You pick it up, sigh, and fry, even while knowing it might be dirty. Isn't this the trap? The system forcing the poorest Americans to accept contaminated food as their only option, while wealthier households choose traceable salmon or local cod. Now the currents grow stranger. Costco and Kroger quietly cut back on Vietnamese and Chinese tilapia purchases in 2025 after internal audits exposed fraud in country of origin labels. That raises grim questions. Have we already eaten fish masked as something safer? How many more mislabeled bags still sit in the freezer aisle, waiting to ambush another family? Looking forward, importers are turning to deep wash techniques, bleaching and gassing fillets with carbon monoxide to sanitize and extend shelf life. Regulators don't call it illegal, but scientists warn about unknown long-term effects on digestion and immunity. Will this be tomorrow's scandal? Or will lobbyists keep convincing lawmakers that international trade matters more than American health? Consumers are cornered, but corporations are cornered too. If scandals keep surfacing, the very cheap fish they rely on may collapse under its own filth. So where does that leave us? Caught in a dilemma where both sides, consumers and businesses, risk losing. For families who want out of the trap, there are lifeboats. U.S.-farmed barramundi from the better fish, certified antibiotic-free. Wild-caught Pacific cod from Sitka salmon shares, traceable straight to the boat. Or mojara sold fresh in Hispanic markets like Cardenas, often sourced from cleaner Central American farms. They cost more, but what is the real price of a hospital stay or a funeral for a $2 fish? And now the sharper questions cut through. How many more Americans must land in ERs before we admit cheap tilapia is a public health disaster? Who decides that working-class neighborhoods deserve sewage-fed fish while others get clean fillets? And if we don't demand answers now, how much filth will be dressed up as dinner tomorrow? Number 3. Lunchables. What if the so-called lunch you slip into your child's backpack isn't lunch at all, but a slow-acting weapon tucked neatly inside a shiny plastic tray? Lunchables have always sold themselves as the shortcut meal. Bright packaging, smiling characters, commercials that whisper, "You're a good parent if you buy this." For working families balancing bills, medical copays, and an empty fridge, that little box feels like a quick answer to a big problem. But answers this cheap often come with strings attached, strings that pull straight into hospitals and long-term health struggles. And the cruel part? Many parents already know these trays are unhealthy, yet they feel forced to buy them. Isn't that the most painful betrayal? When you know you're walking into danger, but the system leaves you no way out? The Environmental Working Group's 2024 investigation revealed numbers that should make any parent's stomach drop. Nearly 1,000 milligrams of sodium per tray, plus sodium nitrite, the very chemical stamped by the World Health Organization as a Group 1 carcinogen. Some kits even carried traces of phthalates, chemicals used to soften plastic, now crawling into children's food and interfering with hormones. Imagine buying your child's lunch and unknowingly feeding them the same toxins found in industrial waste. Would you still call that kid-friendly? And the sting runs deeper. The USDA has approved these kits for public school lunches across over 4,800 districts, many in low-income neighborhoods. Europe has banned products like this from schools for years, but here in America, they are handed out like treats. Why are our children treated like second-class citizens? Why are the poor always served the cheapest poison while wealthier kids are spared? It feels less like food policy and more like a silent class war waged in cafeterias. Parents know it's wrong, yet they whisper excuses to themselves. It's only $1, just this once. But just this once becomes every week, then every year, until doctors diagnose hypertension in an 11-year-old or fatty liver in a child who has never even tasted alcohol. Pediatricians are warning of a tidal wave of obesity and chronic illness in children. But who listens? Corporations don't because they profit off the cycle. Politicians don't because lobbyists buy their silence. And the rest of us, working folks, seniors, retirees, are left clutching receipts that double as medical bills. Worse still, Kraft Heinz has already admitted in internal documents leaked in 2025 that they produce safer, lower sodium versions of Lunchables. For Europe. Here they don't bother. Why? Because lobbyists control policy and ordinary families lack the power to fight back. Isn't it sickening to know your child's health is worth less than a European child's? And if the betrayal ended there, it might almost be tolerable. But analysts predict the company is preparing to market Easy Chew Lunchables to nursing homes next. So after years of feeding your kids preservatives, they'll be ready to feed the same preservatives back to you in pureed form. Does that sound like a joke? Or does it sound like the final insult of a lifetime of being treated as disposable? If this pattern continues, the future is easy to sketch. More. Children will fall ill long before adulthood. Seniors will face food that accelerates decline instead of slowing it. Class action lawsuits may eventually arrive, but only after decades of damage. And what will be the cost then? In lives, in dollars, in dignity, stolen from families who never asked for any of this. But even in this mess, there's a way out. One tray at a time. Imagine building your own lunch kit instead of buying slow poison. Affordable organic turkey from $3.65 at Whole Foods, multigrain crackers from Late July, crisp carrots from Aldi. It costs less when bought in bulk and saves you more in hospital bills. Mighty Yum's plant-based kits are another option, proving convenience doesn't need to mean corruption. And that's the painful twist, isn't it? The healthier path is possible, but hidden behind marketing smoke and political games. So now the question hits home. If a company proudly sells safer food abroad but knowingly dumps harmful versions on us, what does that say about how little they value American families? And how much longer will we keep letting them? Number 4. Quaker oats. You expect betrayal from greasy fast food or bargain bin meat, but from oatmeal. That steaming bowl of comfort sold as heart-healthy, wholesome, and grandfather-approved by the smiling Quaker man. It feels like a punch in the gut to discover that behind the marketing lies not a recipe for wellness, but a recipe for disease. What millions have trusted as a safe start to the day has quietly become a pipeline of chemicals that belong more in weed killer than in your breakfast. Independent tests commissioned by the Environmental Working Group uncovered glyphosate, the infamous ingredient in Monsanto's Roundup, in 21 of 28 oat-based products, with Quaker topping the charts. Some samples exceeded 400 parts per billion, a level scientists warn is unsafe for children. Even organic blends weren't spared, showing traces of chemical drift. Think about it. Your oatmeal, granola bars, even those quick pouches advertised as good for kids, carrying residues of the same substance tied to cancer lawsuits. Is this really breakfast or just Roundup with raisins? The toll is already visible. Glyphosate exposure has been linked in countless cases to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Bayer, Monsanto's parent, has paid over $11 billion in settlements, yet PepsiCo, Quaker's owner, insists their products are within legal limits. But tell that to the seniors battling weakened immunity, or the parents spooning this to toddlers every morning. Legal doesn't mean safe. Arsenic once had legal uses too, and because oats are sprayed just days before harvest to dry them quickly, every bite is essentially baked in pesticide dust. In 2024, 6 Illinois families filed a class action lawsuit against Quaker, blaming repeated oatmeal consumption for their children's digestive inflammation. Court documents revealed internal Quaker emails from as early as 2019, with staff calling glyphosate levels problematic. Instead of reforming supply chains, the company chose silence, fearing higher costs. What does it say about corporate ethics when your breakfast is sacrificed to protect their bottom line? And yet the betrayal cuts deeper because people keep buying. Why? Because it's cheap, familiar, and woven into American kitchens for generations. For retirees counting every dollar or families hoping for a healthier meal, Quaker feels like a safe default. That's precisely why it's dangerous. The trust of the vulnerable turned into a weapon against them. The future? Watchdogs warn Quaker may increasingly source oats from Argentina and Canada, where glyphosate use remains rampant. With PepsiCo expanding global partnerships, is America about to import contamination under labels stamped "packed in the USA"? Will tightening US rules simply push the poison offshore only to boomerang back into our bowls? And if so, how many more children, cancer patients, and seniors will pay the price? Alternatives exist, but you must dig past the marketing fog. 1 Degree Organic sprouted oats are certified glyphosate-free. Nature's Path steel-cut oats undergo rigorous third-party testing, and Bob's Red Mill bulk oats let you flavor them naturally without chemical sugar dust. These aren't luxuries. They're shields against a system that disguises danger as daily nutrition. And so the steam rising from that bowl asks a harder question. If Quaker will serve pesticide-laced oats and hide behind technicalities, what else is being slipped past us under the false warmth of trust? Number 5. Crystal Light. It looks like wellness in a packet. Soft colors, zero sugar, and a name that whispers purity. For many older Americans, Crystal Light has been the go-to alternative to soda, promising sweetness without guilt. But that pastel powder hides a darker weight. Artificial sweeteners and heavy metals that quietly turn hydration into harm. At the center is aspartame. The FDA still allows it, but in 2023, the World Health Organization labeled it possibly carcinogenic, linking it to liver damage, neurological disruption, and metabolic disorders. And the trouble doesn't stop there. A consumer test in 2024 found lead and cadmium in popular flavors like lemonade and raspberry ice. Metals tied to kidney failure, memory loss, and higher cancer risk. For seniors already battling fragile health, that's not refreshment, it's erosion from the inside out. The most chilling detail? Many contaminated samples came straight off dollar store shelves, the very aisles where retirees on fixed incomes shop. One former FDA toxicologist warned that steady cadmium exposure from drink mixes could raise stroke risk by more than a quarter in adults over 60. Imagine sipping lemon water, believing you're protecting your heart, while silently feeding a time bomb to your brain and kidneys. So why do millions still buy it? Because Crystal Light markets itself to women over 50, diabetics, and calorie counters. The exact groups most vulnerable. PepsiCo shrugs off concern, insisting their powders meet legal limits, even as petitions pile up and health complaints grow. Legal isn't the same as safe, and certainly not when thousands drink multiple servings a day. If you want out, try True Lemon with real citrus, hint water with natural fruit essence, or simple homemade iced tea with mint or rooibos, all refresh without metals or chemical tricks. But the hardest question remains. How many sips have already chipped away at your health? And how many more until the glass finally shatters? Number 6. Stouffer's lasagna. It bubbles, it browns, it comforts. Stouffer's frozen lasagna has been sold as the working American's hug in a tray. But behind the nostalgic red box sits a reality that would make anyone lose their appetite. Because this isn't just pasta and cheese, it's chemicals, exploitation, and corporate deceit layered together like the very dish itself. In 2024, the Food Integrity Project found traces of ethylene oxide in Stouffer's meat lasagna. That's the same chemical the EPA lists as a Group 1 carcinogen. It's meant for sterilizing packaging, not your dinner plate. Yet tests showed contamination in multiple batches, especially those stored in bulk freezers. Over months and years, every forkful becomes another quiet dose, linked to breast cancer, lymphoma, and neurological decline. Who imagines their comfort food doubling as slow poison? And then there's the meat. Suppliers tied to Stouffer's have been flagged for filthy conditions, forged inspection records, and even the use of prison labor. In early 2025, whistleblowers revealed inmates forced to work in refrigerated plants at 35 degrees Fahrenheit, some developing frostbite and respiratory illness. Still, that beef made its way to your freezer, buried under mozzarella. Should a family meal really come with the fingerprints of unpaid laborers and the stench of corruption? Yet shoppers keep buying. Why? Because it's cheap, often under $4. For seniors stretching Social Security or single parents juggling shifts, Stouffer's feels like relief. Nobody asks if the cheese was blended with petroleum-based binders. They just need food that feeds everyone, and Nestlé, Stouffer's parent, knows it. Their response? A polished line. All ingredients meet safety standards. Meanwhile, leaked audits showed beef tainted with fecal matter and listeria was still distributed after being cooked through. In plain English, they heated contaminated meat and sent it out anyway. What lies ahead may be worse. Nestlé patent filings point to cost-reducing meat extenders made from lab-grown protein isolates. Will the next tray of lasagna contain fillers not even listed on the box? Will consumers realize before it's too late? Or smart or 20s the race or only after new waves of illness raise alarms? Alternatives exist. Michelangelo's frozen lasagna avoids preservatives and shady suppliers. Amy's Kitchen Organic Lasagna is non-GMO and vegetarian, or you can take control. Use Rao's pasta sauce, whole wheat noodles, and pasture-raised beef from ButcherBox for a homemade tray that's safer and honest. But the final bite leaves a bitter aftertaste. If even our comfort food is built on carcinogens and prison labor, what comfort is left that hasn't already been sold out? Number 7. Truvia sweetener. It sits in neat green packets, smiling with the word natural, whispering to older Americans, diabetics, and calorie counters, I'm safe. But Truvia's sweetness is a mask. What looks like a leaf-based miracle is really a cocktail of lab-processed sugar alcohols and marketing spin, danger disguised as purity. Here's the catch. Truvia is barely stevia. Most of it is erythritol, a sugar alcohol fermented from GMO corn with chemical solvents like methanol. In 2023, a Cleveland Clinic study of over 4,000 adults found high erythritol levels doubled the risk of blood clots, strokes, and heart attacks. For seniors, it lingers in the blood for days, disrupting platelets and circulation. How many cups of guilt-free coffee does it take before that invisible buildup tips over into catastrophe? The FDA has set no safe daily limit. Instead, Truvia slips through the GRAS loophole, generally recognized as safe, which means no full testing required. By 2024, dietitians had already filed complaints after older patients developed headaches, arrhythmias, and dizziness while using it daily. Yet Cargill, the giant behind Truvia, keeps the leaf logo front and center, even after paying settlements for falsely calling it natural. Natural the way plastic flowers are natural. Still, it sells. Because sugar is demonized, and for retirees on fixed incomes, $7 bottles of organic syrup aren't an option. Truvia is cheap, accessible, and seems like salvation, but behind every packet lies a trade-off. Fewer calories today, greater risks tomorrow. And the future is shifting. In 2025, the European Food Safety Authority began reviewing erythritol's heart risks. If Europe tightens rules, Truvia may face bans or warning labels overseas. In the US, lobbyists are already working to protect it. Expect new blends, rebranded with greener packaging but hiding the same risks. So what's left for consumers trapped between sugar spikes and stroke scares? Choose safer alternatives. Sweet Leaf, which is pure stevia without sugar alcohols. Monk fruit extract from Lakanto, lightly processed and insulin-friendly. Or even a teaspoon of raw local honey, which supports immunity if you're not diabetic. But the bitter truth remains. If even sweetness can betray us, how much of our kitchen is already lying in plain sight? We began this journey thinking we were simply talking about food, but what we've uncovered is much bigger. It's about trust, survival, and the cruel ways corporations gamble with the health of everyday Americans. From nuggets made by children's hands to sweeteners that whisper purity while clogging arteries, from oatmeal sprinkled with pesticides to lasagna laced with prison labor, the pattern is the same. What should nourish us has been turned into a weapon of profit, and the ones paying the highest price are not the wealthy, not the powerful, but the working class, the retirees, the people who stretch a dollar and trust a label. So we must ask, how long will we keep accepting poison disguised as comfort? How many more seniors must collapse? How many more children must suffer before we demand change? These foods are not just meals, they are warnings, lessons, wake-up calls on a plate. And you, watching this, are part of that choice. If you believe the truth should never be hidden, if you believe ordinary people deserve better, stand with us. Subscribe to this channel, share these stories, and let's build a voice loud enough that no corporation can ignore. The time to act is now.
Thanks a lot for sticking with us to the very end. If you found this video useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any daily uploads. And now, go ahead and explore some of our top recommended videos popping up on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.